Every morning, millions of people wake up and immediately surrender their attention, not to work, not to relationships, not to their own thoughts, but to an endless stream of short videos, carefully engineered to hijack the human brain. What once took hours to entertain us now happens in seconds, and the consequences are becoming impossible to ignore. Attention spans are collapsing. Silence feels uncomfortable. Focus feels painful. And for the first time in human history, an entire generation is being psychologically shaped by algorithms optimized for addiction. This is the silent damage of short-form content. Human attention has become one of the most valuable resources on Earth. The longer a platform keeps you watching, the more money it makes. And short-form content may be the most efficient attention extraction machine ever created. Apps like TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts are not designed around human well-being. They are designed around engagement. Every swipe is a tiny gamble. You don't know what comes next. Maybe something funny, maybe shocking, maybe emotionally stimulating, and that unpredictability is exactly what makes it addictive. Psychologists call this a variable reward system, the same psychological mechanism used in slot machines. The brain begins chasing stimulation without knowing when the next reward will arrive. And over time, the mind adapts to constant novelty. Not depth, not reflection, not patience, only stimulation. The human brain was never designed for this level of stimulation. For most of history, our environment changed slowly. Now it changes every few seconds. A new face, a new opinion, a new joke, a new emotional trigger, again and again and again. The problem is not entertainment itself. The problem is conditioning. Short-form platforms train the brain to expect constant dopamine spikes. And once the brain adapts to hyperstimulation, normal life begins to feel unbearably slow. Reading becomes difficult. Studying feels painful. Conversations feel underwhelming. Even moments of silence begin to create discomfort, because silence no longer feels neutral. It feels empty. Many people are no longer consuming content for enjoyment. They are consuming it to avoid stillness, to avoid boredom, to avoid themselves. And slowly, the ability to deeply focus starts disappearing. Deep focus is becoming rare, not because humans suddenly became lazy, but because modern technology is rewiring attention itself. Concentration works like a muscle. The more fragmented your attention becomes, the harder sustained focus feels. Short-form content accelerates this fragmentation. Every few seconds, the brain receives a new image, a new emotion, a new stimulus, and eventually, the mind becomes uncomfortable with anything that requires sustained mental effort. Books become exhausting. Long videos feel slow. Thinking deeply feels unnatural. This creates a dangerous psychological loop. The less people focus, the harder focus becomes. And the harder focus becomes, the more people escape into easy stimulation, until eventually, constant distraction becomes their default mental state. But the damage goes beyond attention span. Short-form content also changes emotional perception. Most viral content is emotionally extreme: outrage, attraction, fear, conflict, validation. Because extreme emotions keep people watching. Over time, the brain becomes emotionally calibrated to intensity. Normal life starts feeling emotionally flat. And this creates another problem. People begin confusing stimulation with happiness. But stimulation is not happiness. It is interruption. Many users spend hours consuming content, yet feel mentally exhausted afterward. Not fulfilled, not inspired, just overstimulated. And beneath the endless entertainment, many people are quietly developing a dependency on distraction, a fear of being alone with their own thoughts. The reason this system is so effective is because it understands human psychology better than most humans understand themselves. Algorithms study behavior at massive scale. What keeps you watching? What triggers emotion? What creates obsession? What prevents you from leaving? Every pause, every swipe, every second of hesitation becomes data, and that data is used to refine the system even further, not for your mental health, not for your attention span, but for engagement. Because in the attention economy, your focus is the product, and the longer you stay distracted, the more profitable you become. Perhaps the most dangerous effect of short-form content is not reduced focus, it's reduced self-awareness. Constant stimulation leaves very little room for reflection, very little room for silence, very little room for thought, and without reflection, people become easier to influence, easier to manipulate, easier to emotionally control, because distracted people rarely question the system shaping them. They simply consume, scroll, react, repeat, and over time, many people lose the ability to simply sit still with their own mind, which may explain why boredom now feels almost unbearable to so many people. Technology itself is not evil. Short-form content is not inherently evil either. The danger appears when stimulation becomes constant, when silence disappears, when attention is fragmented so completely that people forget what deep thought even feels like. Because attention is more than productivity. Attention shapes identity. What you repeatedly focus on slowly becomes your reality. And in a world competing to control human attention, the ability to focus may become one of the rarest forms of freedom left.